And yet explained Vikar according to Siddur. Now going to be explaining the level of Vikar, and in all the levels we're speaking about how Ora, which is Gematria Torah, Simcha, which is a level of Yom Tov, the idea of Sasan, which is the idea of Bris, all of these are, first of all, they increase and are more powerful when it is a level that has to do with Yehudim, when it's brought about in a way of Hidah, in a way of Bittul. So then it reaches a more higher level than the way it was, the Kibul, Masher Kibul Far, what happened by Matan Torah. So this is a growth of that, this is an increase of that. And in addition to that increase, there's another point, that each one of these, Ora, V'Simcha, V'Sasa, V'Vikar, each one of these is a higher level and a higher level than the level prior to that. So Ora, which is Torah, is the way the Torah is miyuchad with Hashem's essence. Then there's the level of Yom Tov, that's the level of Simcha, that has to do with Bina, that is Galus Atik, is Babina. Then we have a level of Sasa, and Sasa is the level of the Bris. The Bris is even a higher level in Atik. And now he's going to explain how Yikar, the idea of glory, which has to do, he doesn't go into the idea of film, but the idea of Yikar is even higher than that. That's what he's going to explain right now on line 21, third paragraph on page Yud Aleph of the Maim. And after all of these levels, that through Yehudim, through the level of Eidah, come to the level of Eidah, which is turned away from Yuchad Hashem's essence. We come to the level of Simcha, which is a level of Yom Tov, having to do with Bina, that you have his Galas Atik is with Bina. Then you have a level of Sasan, which is a level of Bris, Spheres HaYesod, which is even higher than that, etc. So after all this, the fourth thing in this level is we come to the idea of Yikar. The Yikar, the word Yikar, it's the numerical equivalent of 310. Reish is 200, Kuf is 100, and Yud is 10. So you have 310. That's a half of the level of Keser. Should begin Matria Sheish Meas Vesri. Keser is 620. 310 is half of 620. Elosh Keser Yesh HaMechza Shenikra B'Shem Yesh. HaMechza Shenikra B'Shem Yikar. In Keser itself, we said it's 620. 620 divided in half is 310. So there's the 310 that's hinted in the word yesh, and it says, the Chazal says, Lahanchil Oyava yesh, that Hashem will give an inheritance to my beloved, to the tzaddikim. He will give them yesh, which is 310 worlds. And Chassidus explains that has to do with half of Keser. And then there's a level of the half that's called Yikar. So in Keser itself, there's two halves. There's the yesh, 310 half of Keser, and there is the half that's called Yikar. What's the difference between them? The difference between the level of Yesh and the level of Yikar in Keser. Like explained in Shari Oyer. Like we said before, it's a sefer of the Mittler Rebbe that has Mamorim explaining the idea of Chanukah and Purim. Yikar, top of page Yud base. Pnimius Atik Mamish, the innermost level of Atik, Lamayla Mabchina Shemizgala Bebina, Memila, even higher than the level that's connected and becomes revealed in the Bris Milah. We said before that the Pnimius of Yesod, the inner level of Yesod, has a very high root. It's even higher than the root of the level of Simcha. The level of Sasan is even higher than Simcha. That has to do with Pnimius Atik. It reaches up to, but when it comes to the level of Yikar, Yikar is even higher than the level of Atik, the innermost level of Atik, higher than what becomes revealed in Mil. I know this means like if it's Pnimius Atik or Pnimius Abba, not like the inner level of Atik has to do and is one with the inner level of Chachmah. But like if each pneumius atik misgalu pneumius bina, not the way the inner level of atik becomes revealed in the inner level of bina, which seems to be implying that these two levels are the two previous levels of Sasain would be the way pneumius atik is perhaps in pneumius chachma, and simcha that's the level of pneumius bina. Pneumius atik fishuim koimim mamish, but rather the inner level of atik, the way it's in its original place, not the way it comes down, not the way it becomes translated, expressed somewhere else. It's the level of atik itself. In other words, we have the way atik comes down into different spheres, the way it relates to different spheres, the way different spheres are rooted in atik. That is all the levels of simcha and sasan. Bina has the revelation of atik in it, sasan, because the Yisoid has to do with Chachma, and the Chachma is Primus Abba, Primus Atik. That's all fine and good. That's the way Atik relates and connects to things outside of Atik. Yikar, which is the 310, higher than the 310 of Yesh, is the upper level of Keser, Atik itself, not the way Atik comes down somewhere else. But therefore, again, we are increasing, going up level on level. There is Oira, there's a level of Simcha, there's a level of Sasan, and then there's Yikar, which is the height. Okay, so once we've established all the different levels of Sasan, Simcha, the Oira, Sasan, Simcha, Yikar spiritually, that what these different levels represent and how high they are and how each one is in increase and greater than the level prior to that. So now the Rebbe is going to connect it with the idea of the simple meaning of the pasuk. I say, this idea that you have all these different types of levels of revelation, Torah, the way it's miyuchad with Hashem, level of Atik, the way it comes down to Bina, Atik, the way it's the Chachma, Atik, the way it's in its own place, has to do with the simple literal meaning, light and joy and happiness and glory. The idea behind this is, why is there the connection between this highest levels? How can they be connected to these very simple, seemingly simple terms that have to do with our physical world and so on? So it's like explained in many places. We say in Shabbos davening, so it's explained, why does it say, why does he use that particular expression of Ein Aroich in this world? The true idea of Hashem's level of being completely incomparable and completely removed from everything, that nothing can be compared to him. Where does this manifest? That's the true idea of Keser. Keser is Hashem's, relates to Hashem's essence. That's hard to say the Shtalshus, especially the level of Atik. This becomes revealed specifically in this low world that there's nothing below it. Because in this low world, we see that type of distance, that type of gap and chasm that there is between us and the Eibishter. The higher worlds, the spiritual worlds, they're godly. They have to do with godliness, godly revelations. So you don't notice, even though in truth, everything is incomparable to Hashem himself. But where is it manifest? Where is it revealed? The Ein Aroich aspect of Hashem, how Hashem is completely beyond and above everything. It's in this physical world because the physicality of this world is completely distant from Hashem. So based on this, so the Rebbe says an interesting point. He says in line 12, then move on from this understood. In the literal meaning of light, there is the inner idea of light with all the advantages we said before. It's the Torah, the way it's one with Hashem. So too in the literal idea of Simcha, there is Kol and Yon Simcha, all matters of joy, until the ultimate perfection of joy, like we mentioned before. And similar to this concerning the idea of happiness, so too concerning the idea of glory. In other words, the Rebbe is saying like this: since the Ein Aroich aspect of Hashem is down here below, so therefore, specifically down here in our physical world, in the physical ideas of Simcha V'Sas Vikar, can be expressed the incomparably higher levels of Atik that cannot be manifest in all the highest, most levels. So specifically down here, that's where it's manifest. So the Rebbe goes on and says that these different levels that we've been just now talking about has to do and express themselves in the different spheres. Line 18. So to concerning the general idea of Eire V'Simcha V'Sas V'Ikar, the way they are in the spheres, the Eire V'Simcha, who inyan Yichud Chachma Bina. Light and joy is the union of Chachma Bina, because he said light at the level of Torah. So that's Chachma, Raisam Chachma Nafkis. Torah is derived from Chachma. We said Simcha has to do with Bina, like it says, Ema Bon Smecha, the mother of the children rejoices. That's the level of Bina, which is the source of the children of the Midas. So Eire V'Simcha is talking about the union of the spheres of Chachma Bina. That's going to be important to remember. That Yud Ke, Shem Yud Ke Vav Ke. Sasam V'Ikar, Hu Inyan Yichud Zeirampin V'Nukva Zeirampin U'Malchus. Sasam, we said, is the level of the spheres HaYesod. The Bris has to do with the spheres HaYesod, the Milah. And Yikar, glory in its simple sense, is the level of Malchus, honor, glory. That's the idea of like Baruch Shem Kivoid Malchus Elolam Void. So we have the idea of Yichud Zeir Ampin Benukva in Sasrim Vikar. Now, let's bear in mind that we were talking about that it's a buildup, that we're going Eira, V'Simcha, V'Sasrim Vikar. Seemingly, it's not a build-up. Seemingly, when you talk about the spheres, we're going lower. Eira Simcha is Yichud Chachma Bina, and Sasam Vikar is only Zohar Malchus. So the Rebbe explains, no, that this seemingly lower Yichud of Zohar Malchus is really a higher inyan. Davki Yichud Zeirampin Malchus Magia L'Mayla Yoser. Specifically, the union and the mating of the Midas and Malchus reaches higher. Like it's explained in a different place, Benegel the Tevas Vahaya, She'ena Ella L'Shain Sim. Chazal say that wherever it says the word Vahaya, and it's indicating an inyan of joy. So Chassidus, there's an explanation. What is the idea of Vahaya having to do with joy? Why is there an idea of joy? The Rebbe says, "No, Tevas Vahaya Koidmim Isis Vavke." Top of page with Gimel. In the word Vahaya, the letters Vavke, which is Zeir Ampin V'Nukva, which is the Midas and Malchus, they precede LaIsis Yudke Chachma Bina. Normally, the Seder is Yudke Vavke Chachma, then Bina, then Midas, and then Malchus. But in the word Vahaya, it's the other way around. Midas and Malchus, Vavke, and then Chachma Bina. So the question is, why would that be an aspect of Simcha? Why would that be an idea of joy? So let's see on the commentary on the side. Line on the right side of the page, line 8, he brings from the Torah of the Alter Rebbe. So he says, line 8, Mashakasav Barabba is a Medrash Rabbah. What it says in Medrash Rabbah, wherever the Torah uses the word Vahaya, it's only an expression of Simcha. Like it says, Vahaya Bayirahu Yetzumayim Chayim, and there will be in that day, in times of Mashiach, the living waters will come out, Krishalayim, Vahaya Bayirahu Yitak B'Shofar, God will be in that day. There'll be the blast of the great shofar. And we'll see the Rebbe is going to inside soon. It's connected also with Mashiach's times. These episodes can talk about Mashiach's times. So the Alter Rebbe explains of the Torah, Kibed Milas V'Haya U'Hatziruf Shel Shem Havaya. The word V'Haya is one of the combinations of the letters of the name Yud Kei Vav Kei. But the difference between V'Haya and Yud Kei Vav Kei, Ella She'oisis Vav Kei, Hem Koidmin Loisis Yud Kei. The letters Vav Kei precede the letters Yud Kei. And the Alter Rebbe goes on to say that we know that it says in the pasuk V'rav Shloim Banoyich, says there's much peace to your sons. Al tikra Banoyich ela Boynoyich. Do not read it your sons, but your builders. Alter Rebbe connects V'hainu ki bechinas Yud Kei Zeu Inyan Banoyich, the level of Yud Kei, that's the idea of your sons. What's the idea of your sons? That's the davening, that's the way of rushing towards Hashem and returning. That's the idea of, most probably he means over here, Banoyach, your children, because the level of Chachma Bina, the level of davening is in the level of meditation and understanding that brings us to the children of Avavir. So the level of Banoyach, that's Yudke. And we see that davening has to do with Yudke, like it says, Vizel, call Neshama, Tahal Yudke. It says every Neshama will praise Yudke. That's the idea of davening. So davening is the idea of Yudke. That's the level of Banoi. Amnam Mechinas Vavke, Reimus Mechinas Banoi. Vavke hints at where it says that the Chazal say, do not read it Banoi. But Banoi, your builders, what's the idea of builders? We are all builders. We are all contractors. We all have a job from the Eibush. That's the idea of making a home for the Eibush down here below. We are all contractors building the Eibush's home. That's the ultimate purpose. That should be much peace. What's the idea of much peace? The unity of above and below, both from below to above and above to below. So where do you have the Rav Shloim? You have the Rav Shloim when you have Boinoy, when you have the builders, when you have the Dir Tachtoini, when you have the Vavke. So that's why Vavke, even though in the Seder Ishtalshlos Vavke Yichud Zun follows the Yud-K, and it's lower than the Yud-K seemingly, but really it's rooted higher, because in the Vav-K, that's the Dir of Tachtoinim, which has a higher inyan than the Yud-K of Davening. Then he goes on to bring, in a similar vein, what we say in Baruch Shama, he brings from the Rebbe Rasha. He says in line 21, again, we're at the right side of the page in the commentary. In the 21st line in the commentary, it says, Baruch Sha'amar v'hoya ha'olam. What does it mean, Baruch Sha'amar v'hoya? Remember, the word v'hoya is the flip of Yudke Vavke. It says, V'noida, it's known, the Amira Hibaleh. Brought down, Mamar Chazal, that Amira, the word, when the word Amira is used, it doesn't have to be necessarily something that he expressly states. Like there's a lashon in Chazal that says, "Vayomer Hashem el liboy," that Hashem spoke to his heart. So you see that Amira can be internal. Hainu machshav v'ratz, and this means in the thought and in the will. Ma haya amirazu. So we say Baruch Sha'amar, that he said. What did he say? What did he want? He thought in his mind, he wanted in his mind, the Eibishter thought and wanted in his mind, that there should come about something separated from Hashem's very essence. What is that? That it should be the will. So that's the general, before we get into the Vahaya part. Baruch Sha'amar, that Hashem thought into himself, he had a will within himself, there should be a will. Now, what comes about with that world? V'haya. V'haya, we said, is a flip side of Yud Kei Vav. It says in line 26 in the commentary, Mashakos of V'haya Olam, where it says it will be is also meaning future tense. Uloshin Asid, it's the future tense. Shabavade Asid Liya, surely it will be Kiahu Amr Ba'atzmai, Lo Yasa Lovelikli. He said it within himself, but he's not going to do it to come out to be revealed. Of course, it will happen. And then it parenthetically, the Rebbe Rashab adds, why does it say Vahoya al Pi Mashin is according to what's explained in a different place? The Vahoya Isis Havaya, that the letters of the word Vahoya is the same letters like the word Yud Kei Vavke. Raksh Oisius, Vavke, Kain Moisis Yudke. The letters of Vavke precede the letters of Yudke. The Oisius Vavke, Hayamoida Etzlam Alina Simcha. The letters of Vavke indicated by them for the idea of joy. That's why Vahaya is an indication of joy, like we said before. I know what joy are we talking about? The Rebbe is going to talk about this also inside the Maimer. That's the joy that will become revealed in the future time. That's the joy that Hashem will have in his doings through the refining of the sparks that were specifically taking place in the world of action, which is Baruch Shamar V'Haya Olam, having the world. Having the world is what makes V'Haya the Lashon of Simcha, which has to do with Vavke, because Vavke has to do with the Dir B'Tachtayim, like we said, the level of Boinoyach, your builders, the way it comes down to the world, which is also literally Vavke. Yudke is the level that's higher in the world. Like it says, Alpayim Shana Kam Torah Olam, so we say Alpayim Shana, that's Aleph Chachma, Aleph Kabina. That's the level of Chachma Bina is beyond the world. But the Midas and Malchus, Sheishis Yam Masa Hashem Shemaim Aretz, they have to do with the world. So therefore, the Vavke is the main thing about the world. So he says in line 34 in the commentary, Vizel Gam Kinayin, V'Hoya Olam. That's why it also says V'Hoya and the world. Since the inner intention in the will that Hashem wanted, there should be the world. Omar, we said, was Hashem's will and interest, it should be the world. There should be the avoid of refining the sparks down here below. Through that, it's fulfilled the purpose that Hashem desired to have a home down here below. That's why Vahaya is together with the Olam, because Vahaya indicates on Hashem's joy. We're talking about the divine joy that will be through the coming into the being of the world, because that's the innermost purpose of the world. That's why Vahaya, which the Vavke is before the Yudke, that's why it's an expression of Simcha, because Hashem's Simcha and the creation of the world. Let's go back to the Pnim, to the actual paragraph, line 2 in the text itself on page Gimel. This is also what we find concerning the true and complete redemption through Mashiach. Then the world will be filled in a complete and perfect manner. Even more so than the state and situation that this was the history of the heavens and the earth when they were created. The main Shechina was down here below when the world was created. Still no, Mashiach comes, it will be greater. It says Vahaya Vavke before Yudke, like we brought the Psukim before. Because in Mashiach's times, all of this will become revealed. The Maila of the world down here below, the Mata, the physical world over here, that's going to be the accomplishment of Vavke over the Yudke, and that's why it's a great joy and a great simcha. Any questions before we conclude the mimer?
Vikar means glory.
Vikar means and glory. Yikar means glory.
Is it associated with Malchus?
Exactly. That's why he said that Sasan Vikar, Sasan is the level of Sfiras HaYesod. Yikar is the level of Malchus. So therefore, it's a yichud of Zav and Nukva, the yichud of the Midas and Malchus, as opposed to the level of Ora and Simcha, that's a yichud of Chachma and Bina, Yud-K.
How's that different than Ho?
Come on.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Because I'm trying to speak. Where is the Vehaya in the Megillah?
Not in the Megillah. He says Lihudim. He's not saying that in the Megillah it says Bahaya. All he's saying is to be able to understand how dafke in the level of what we were saying, there's always an increase. Eira, then simcha, then sasim v'ikar. So in the spheres, if Eira and simcha is chachma bina, and sasim v'ikar in the spheres is zayin malchus, how can we say it's going higher? Seemingly it's going lower. So to be able to explain it, he brings an example from Vahaya, that even though Vahaya is Vavke before Yudke, Zayin Malchus before Chachma Bina, that is actually higher, and that's actually causing the Simcha, because that is actually the idea of Dir B'Tachtonim, which is the whole entire part. So it's not that he's saying that it says in the Megillah Vahaya, but he's just bringing an example from Vahaya where the Zah in Malchus is higher than and greater than having the Yichud of Chachma Bina. That's why after Eira v'Simcha, the higher level is Sasim Vikar, even though they are level of Zah and Malchus.
Mm-hmm.
Let's conclude the Mimer with the Brachas. Ois Vav, page Yud Gimel. Chol and Niflai de Maseinu, or the Seinu b'Meshech Mana Golos, all affected through our action and service throughout the time of the duration of Golos. Especially and specifically through the avodah of the days of Purim. That it also has the idea of being everlasting. Like it says in the Megillah, that these days of Purim will not pass. Like the Chazal say, even when all the Yom Tovim will cease, from this pasuk that says from this they derive that the Mea Purim will be in existence, will remain. Like it says that Layavru from them and from their offspring. So too it says not just the idea of the Yom Tov of Purim, but the Megillah. Even there's an expression that even when all the Sfarim will be kaviyachol considered that they're not relevant, but Megillah will be in existence as well. So too it should be for us. When very soon it will be, we bring close from one redemption to the other redemption. The Gemara talks about it that you make Purim in the second other because you want to make the redemption of Purim close to the redemption of Pesach. But the Rebbe always uses this expression that from the redemption of Purim we should go to the redemption of Mashiach. From the redemption of the days of Purim, of the Golos, which took place when the Yidden were still in the time of Golos. We are still servants of Achashverosh. That's one of the reasons that the Gemara gives why we do not recite Hallel on Purim, is because we are still in Golos. We even after the miracle of Purim, we remained in Golos. So from that state and situation where you have the miracles and the redemption of Purim, even in the days of Golos, Navi Bekar Mamish will come speedily and immediately, like the expression of the Rambam, immediately. Alagula mitzvah shlema de Mashiach came to true and complete redemption to the Mashiach. Allah number concerning Mashiach's times, it says, I will show you wonders even in comparison, or just like the days of Mitzrayim, and even in comparison to the days of Mitzrayim. Any questions?